Hello my fellow green thumbs. Fall doesn't have to mean boring brown containers. Today I'm sharing 12 spectacular perennials that will transform your pots into autumn showstoppers, and here's the best part, they practically take care of themselves. If you want gorgeous fall color without breaking your back or your budget, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, let me tell you why I'm obsessed with container perennials. First, they're kinder to our backs. No more crawling around on the ground. Second, you can move them to catch the perfect light or protect them from harsh weather. And third, these beauties stay put, no worrying about invasive spreaders taking over your entire yard. Now, here's a shopping reality check. Fall plant shopping can be hit or miss, so I've prioritized plants that are typically available right now. The superstars you'll find almost everywhere include mums, asters, sedums, and ornamental kale. For the more unique varieties, call ahead or check online nurseries. Remember, even 3 or 4 of these plants will create a stunning display. Plant 1, Autumn Joy Sedum. Let's start with the absolute champion of fall containers. Autumn Joy Sedum, hardy in zones 3 through 9. This succulent superstar is available at almost every garden center right now because it's having its moment of glory. Here's a fun fact. Sedum comes from the Latin word sedere, meaning to sit, because these plants seem to sit and cling to rocks and walls. Autumn Joy starts the season with thick blue-green leaves that store water like tiny reservoirs. Then, in late summer, flat-topped clusters of tiny pink flowers appear, gradually deepening to rusty bronze red. To plant, choose a wide, shallow pot, at least 12 inches across. Sedums have shallow root systems, so they prefer spreading out rather than going deep. Use well-draining potting mix, and here's the key, don't baby it with water. Once established, water only when the soil is completely dry. Overwatering is the kiss of death for sedums. Maintenance, practically zero. Cut back the flower heads in late fall, or leave them for winter interest. They look fantastic covered in snow. In spring, new growth emerges from the base, and you can divide clumps every 3 to 4 years. Plant 2, hardy chrysanthemums. Now let's talk about the queen of fall, my top is hardy garden mums, thriving in zones 4 through 9. But here's where most people go wrong. They buy grocery store mums that are bred for short-term color, not longevity. Fun fact, chrysanthemums have been cultivated for over 2,000 years and are the national flower of Japan. The name means golden flower in Greek, though modern varieties come in every fall color imaginable. Look for hardy garden mums or Korean hybrid mums. Varieties like Clara Curtis or Matchstick are workhorses that return year after year. Plant them in containers at least 14 inches wide because they need room to develop strong root systems. The planting secret, don't wait until they're already blooming. If possible, plant them in late summer when they're still in bud. This gives them time to establish roots before putting energy into flowers. Use quality potting mix and plant at the same depth they were growing in their nursery pot. For maintenance, pinch growing tips in early summer to encourage bushier growth and more blooms. Water regularly but ensure good drainage. Soggy soil leads to root rot. After blooming, cut stems back to about 4 inches and mulch around the container for winter protection in colder zones. Plant 3, fall blooming asters. Asters are the unsung heroes of fall containers, hardy in zones 3 through 8. These native wildflowers are having a renaissance, and for good reason. Here's a fascinating fact. There are over 600 species of asters worldwide, and the name comes from the Greek word for star because of their star-shaped flowers. Native Americans called them frost flowers because they often bloom right up until the first hard frost. Look for compact varieties like Woods Purple or Aromatic Aster. These natives are incredibly tough. They've been surviving in the wild for millennia, so they're not going to be fussy in your containers. Plant in containers at least 12 inches deep with quality potting mix. Asters prefer full sun to partial shade and consistent moisture, but they're surprisingly drought-tolerant once established. The trick is gradual acclimation. Start with regular watering, then slowly reduce frequency. Here's a pro tip. If you plant asters in spring, pinch the growing tips once or twice before July to prevent them from getting too tall and flopping over. For fall planting, just let them do their thing. After blooming, cut them back and they'll return next year with even more flowers. Plant 4, Coral Bells, Hishura. Coral bells are my go-to for adding foliage fireworks to fall containers, thriving in zones 4 through 9. While other plants are focused on flowers, Hechuras bring the party with their incredible leaf colors. Fun fact, Hechuras are named after Johann Heinrich von Hechura, an 18th century German physician and botanist. But here's what's really cool. Modern breeding has created varieties with leaves and colors that would make a sunset jealous. Varieties like Palace Purple, Caramel, or Fire Chief offer burgundy, orange, amber, and coral foliage that intensifies in cool weather. The delicate flower spikes are lovely, but honestly, they're just the cherry on top. Plant in containers at least 10 inches wide with rich, well-draining potting mix. Here's the key. Hechuras prefer consistent moisture, but hate wet feet. Think of them as the Goldilocks of the plant world, not too wet, not too dry, but just right. They thrive in partial shade, making them perfect for those tricky spots where other plants struggle. Full sun can bleach out the foliage colors, while too much shade makes them leggy. Maintenance is minimal. Remove any damaged leaves in spring, and divide clumps every 3 to 4 years when the centers start to get woody. In cold areas, mulch around containers for winter protection. Plant 5, Ornamental Kale Cabbage. Now technically these are annuals, but they deserve a spot because they're the ultimate cool weather performers. These beauties actually get more colorful as temperatures drop. Here's a fun fact. Ornamental kale and cabbage are the same species as the vegetables we eat. Brassica oleracea. The difference is breeding mode. These varieties have been selected for beauty rather than flavor, though they are still edible. The magic happens when nighttime temperatures consistently drop below 50 degrees. That's when the centers transform into rosettes of deep purple, pink, cream, or white. It's like nature's own mood ring, responding to temperature changes. Choose varieties like Peacock or Crane series for the most dramatic colors. Plant in containers at least 8 inches wide, using quality potting mix. Unlike most plants that slow down in cool weather, these actually prefer temperatures between 35 and 65 degrees. Water consistently and provide full sun to partial shade. Here's a maintenance tip. Remove any lower leaves that start yellowing to keep the plants looking fresh. They can handle light frost and actually look better after it, but a hard freeze will finish them off. Plant them now for peak color from October through December, depending on your climate. Plant 6, Purple Fountain Grass. Purple fountain grass adds dramatic texture and movement to fall containers. In zones 9 and 10, it's perennial, but don't let that stop you colder climate gardeners. It's worth growing as an annual for the spectacular show. Fun fact, this ornamental grass, Perennials rubrum, is actually native to Africa and was introduced to cultivation in the 1940s. The burgundy foliage and bottle brush-like plumes create instant drama that lasts until hard frost. Choose containers at least 12 inches wide. These grasses like room to develop their fountain-like shape. Plant in well-draining potting mix and place in full sun for the best color development. In partial shade, the purple tones fade to green. Here's the beauty of ornamental grasses, they're incredibly low maintenance. Water regularly the first few weeks to establish roots, then they're quite drought tolerant. The key is good drainage. Soggy soil leads to root problems. No pruning needed during the growing season. Just let them do their graceful dance in the breeze. In late fall, you can cut them back or leave the plumes for winter interest. In cold climates, treat as an annual or bring containers into a protected area if you want to try overwintering. Plant 7, Japanese Painted Fern. For those shadier spots, Japanese Painted Fern is pure magic, hardy in zones 3 through 8. This is proof that you don't need flowers to create stunning containers. Here's a fascinating fact. Japanese Painted Fern, Ethereum nipponicum pictum, was the first fern ever named Perennial Plant of the Year by the Perennial Plant Association in 2004. The silvery gray fronds with purple midribs create an almost metallic shimmer that catches every bit of available light. Plant in containers at least 10 inches deep with rich, moisture-retentive potting mix. Add some compost if you have it. Ferns love organic matter. These beauties prefer partial to full shade and consistent moisture, but not waterlogged conditions. The planting trick is depth, don't bury the crown where the fronds emerge. Plant at the same level they were growing in their nursery pot. Too deep, and you risk crown rot. Maintenance is wonderfully simple. Remove any damaged fronds in spring before new growth emerges. The fronds die back completely in winter, but don't panic. They'll return reliably each spring with fresh, bright foliage. Water consistently during dry spells, and consider grouping containers together to create humidity around the plants. In winter, mulch around containers for root protection in colder zones. Plant 8. Russian sage. Russian sage is the ultimate low-maintenance perennial for sunny containers, hardy in zones 4 through 9. Once established, this silvery beauty is practically indestructible. Fun fact, despite its name, Russian sage isn't actually a sage, and it's not from Russia. It's Perovskia atriplexifolia, native to Afghanistan and Tibet. The aromatic silvery foliage and clouds of lavender blue flowers have made it a garden favorite worldwide. Choose large containers, at least 14 inches wide and deep. Russian sage develops a woody base and can get quite substantial. Use well-draining potting mix and place in full sun for best flowering and compact growth. Here's what makes this plant perfect for lazy gardeners. It's drought-tolerant, deer-resistant, and rarely bothered by pests or diseases. It's like the ultimate survivor plant. Plant at the same depth as the nursery pot and water regularly the first season to establish roots. After that, you can practically ignore it except for occasional deep watering during extended dry spells. Maintenance is annual. Cut the entire plant back to about 6 inches in late fall or early spring. Don't worry about being precise. Russian sage responds well to hard pruning and will reward you with bushy new growth and abundant flowers. Plant 9. Hardy hibiscus. For dinner plate-sized drama, hardy hibiscus varieties deliver spectacular blooms well into fall, thriving in zones 4 through 9. These aren't your tropical houseplant hibiscus, these are cold-hardy perennials built for outdoor living. Here's an amazing fact. Some hardy hibiscus flowers can reach 10 inches across. That's literally the size of a dinner plate. The Luna series and Summerific series offer flowers in white, pink, red, and bicolor combinations that stop traffic. Don't panic if you don't see growth until late May. Hardy hibiscus are notoriously late risers. They're often called the last to the party but worth the wait. Plant in large containers, at least 16 inches wide and deep. These plants develop substantial root systems and can grow 4 to 6 feet tall. Use rich, well-draining potting mix and place in full sun for best flowering. Water consistently. These are moisture lovers, especially during blooming season. Think of them as the drama queens of the perennial world. They need regular attention to look their best. Here's a maintenance secret. Each flower only lasts 1 day, but the plants produce so many buds that you'll have continuous blooms from midsummer until frost. Deadhead spent flowers to keep new ones coming, and cut the entire plant back to ground level in late fall. Plant 10. Helenium sneezeweed. Don't let the common name fool you. Helenium doesn't make you sneeze, and it's absolutely gorgeous in fall containers. Hardy in zones 3 through 8. The bright daisy-like flowers in hot colors are pure autumn sunshine. Fun fact, the name sneezeweed comes from the historical use of dried leaves as snuff, not because it causes allergies. Native Americans used various Helenium species for medicinal purposes, and today we grow them purely for their spectacular fall show. Varieties like Mardi Gras or Sahin's early flowerer offer flowers in yellow, orange, red, and bronze, perfect fall colors that complement other autumn plants. Plant in containers at least 12 inches wide with well-draining potting mix. Heleniums prefer full sun and consistent moisture, but are surprisingly tolerant of various soil conditions once established. Here's a growing tip. Pinch the growing tips in early summer to encourage bushier growth and prevent the plants from getting too tall and flopping over. This creates more branching and ultimately more flowers. Water regularly during dry spells and deadhead spent blooms to encourage continued flowering. After blooming finishes, cut plants back to about 4 inches. They'll return next spring with renewed vigor. Plant 11. Toad lily, Tricertis. For something truly unique, toad lily brings orchid-like elegance to shaded fall containers. Hardy in zones 4 through 8, These exotic-looking blooms are conversation starters that most people have never seen before. Here's a delightful fact. Despite the unfortunate name, toad lilies are actually quite beautiful. The spotted flowers really do resemble tiny orchids, and they bloom just when most other shade plants are winding down for the season. Look for varieties like Miyazaki or Cinnamon, with white or purple flowers decorated with purple spots. The arching stems and lance-shaped leaves create an elegant fountain effect even before blooming. Plant in containers at least 10 inches deep, with rich, moisture-retentive potting mix. These woodland natives prefer partial to full shade and consistent moisture. Think of forest floor conditions. The key to success is patience and consistent care. Toad lilies are slow to establish, but long-lived once settled. Water regularly, but ensure good drainage. Soggy conditions lead to crown rot. Maintenance is minimal. Remove spent flower stems and cut plants back after the first hard frost. Mulch around containers for winter protection, and divide clumps every 4 to 5 years if they outgrow their containers. Plant 12. Fall blooming anemone. Let's finish with Japanese anemone, the grand finale of the perennial season, hardy in zones 4 through 8. When everything else is calling it quits, these elegant beauties are just getting started. Fun fact, Japanese anemones aren't actually from Japan. They're native to China, but were introduced to Japan centuries ago. The botanical name Anemone hupihensis means windflower, referring to how the delicate petals dance in autumn breezes. Varieties like Honorin Jobert offer pure white flowers, while September Charm provides soft pink blooms on stems that can reach 3 feet tall. The flowers have a simple, elegant beauty that's perfect for fall arrangements. Plant in containers at least 14 inches wide and deep. These plants develop spreading root systems. Use rich, well-draining potting mix, and place in partial shade. Too much sun can bleach the flowers, while too much shade reduces blooming. Here's the container advantage. In garden beds, Japanese anemones can be aggressive spreaders, but containers keep them perfectly controlled, while still allowing you to enjoy their beauty. Water consistently during the growing season, and provide some protection from strong winds. After blooming, cut stems back to ground level and mulch around containers for winter protection. Now, let me share the secrets to container success that will make all these plants thrive. First, size absolutely matters. Most perennials need containers at least 12 inches wide and equally deep. Bigger is always better because larger containers hold more soil, which means more water retention and better root development. For soil, invest in quality potting mix, not garden soil. Garden soil compacts in containers and creates drainage problems. Look for mixes labeled for containers or raised beds. They're formulated to drain well while retaining moisture. Drainage is absolutely critical. Every container must have holes in the bottom. If you fall in love with a pot without drainage, use it as a decorative outer pot and plant in a smaller pot with holes that fits inside. Here's a watering reality. Container plants dry out faster than garden plants, especially in fall when the air is dry. Check soil moisture by sticking your finger 2 inches down. Most perennials prefer consistently moist, but not soggy soil. For winter protection in zones 4 through 7, group containers together in a protected spot against a building or fence. Mulch heavily around and over containers, or move them to an unheated garage when temperatures drop consistently below 10 degrees. Don't forget about feeding. Container plants depend entirely on you for nutrition. Use a balanced slow-release fertilizer when planting, then supplement with liquid fertilizer every few weeks during the growing season. There you have it, 12 fantastic fall perennials that will transform your containers from boring to brilliant without requiring a degree in horticulture. Remember, the best garden is one you can actually enjoy, not one that owns you. These plants will give you gorgeous fall color, interesting textures, and reliable performance, while letting you spend more time admiring and less time fussing. Start with the easy-to-find varieties like mums, asters, and sedums, then add specialty plants as you find them. The most important thing is to start somewhere. Even one spectacular container can boost your spirits every time you see it. And trust me, once you experience the joy of low-maintenance container gardening, you'll wonder why you ever struggled with high-maintenance plants. If this video helped you plan your fall containers, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. What combinations are you planning to try? And don't forget to subscribe for more practical gardening wisdom that actually works in the real world. Until next time, keep growing, keep it simple, and remember, the best gardener is a happy gardener.